Welcome to a journey of transformation. Every week, we explore new horizons, pushing boundaries and embracing what's next. This isn't just about technology, it's about evolving ourselves. Think of it as your weekly reset, a chance to upgrade your mindset, your skills, and your potential. We're here to help you rethink how you approach challenges, how you innovate, and ultimately, how you succeed. From powerful insights to practical strategies and game-changing knowledge, we tap into everything you need. It's about staying ahead, not just in a digital world, but in life itself, equipping you for every new beginning. Because in this fast-paced era, standing still is simply not an option. Growth is continuous. You either choose to evolve, to adapt, and to learn, or you risk being left behind. Embrace the change. This isn't just an update. It's a profound rebirth, a chance to redefine your future, to step into your power, and to truly thrive. It's about unlocking your next level. Join us on this exciting path. Embrace your new beginning. Your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, Tech Tuesdays. And man, where's the sensei? Where is he? Ah, there he is. Sensei is in the building. Yeah. How are you, good sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. Of course, Tech Tuesday wouldn't be Tech Tuesday if we didn't have some technical issues, right?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we do on Tech Tuesday, man.
We would not be Tech Tuesday.
Right. We start with solving IT problems, man. So we're here, and look, you're there, and we are all here. The gang is in the building, and it is Tech Tuesdays, and we are about to get started, man. But before we get started, Sensei, how do you feel, man?
Oh, feeling good. Getting ready for the big ride. I'm getting ready for the big ride.
Hey, man, ladies and gentlemen, Sensei has something that he's going to share with you before the night's over, man. And it's something amazing, very heartfelt, man. And for our Warriors community, the veterans, the active duty, this is for you guys, right? So before we get started, I have to tell you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to the show. It is Tech Tuesdays, and it's for entertainment purposes only, right? Entertainment purposes only, per always. So there's a lot going on in the tech world right now, man, and you know, we're going to talk about it because that's what we do, right? So before we get into it, I got a few admin notes that I want to get out the way, right? So first admin note, look, make sure if you haven't seen all of our episodes, man, go check out all of our episodes on our very own website. The website is www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. Go check out all of our episodes. We're at episode 262. 262, man. We are 48 episodes away from episode 300, right? Episode 300 starts the new season 5. The harvest, man. The harvest is on its way, right? This is arc 4. Arc 4, the construction. We are 8 episodes away from the next arc. The next arc starts in 8 episodes, and we're going to be going into arc 5, the declaration. This is where we do the construction. Arc 5 is where we do and talk about the declaration of things, right? And then the declaration closes out and goes into the harvest. That is the lineup, right? So, man, we got big things coming. If you haven't, hey, bro, I'm from DC, man. We from all over. We're from all over, man. But thank you for joining us. If you're here, then you're in the right place, right? Stay here, stay with us, man. You're gonna learn something tonight. So, If you haven't, make sure you go get All Aboard Go Time, All Aboard the Fired Up Train. Go Time, All Aboard the Fired Up Train. That's the first book out of the series of the Go Time series, man. Make sure you go pick that up. Go Time 2, it's on its way. Go Time 2, it's on its way. It would be here next month, right? I'm excited about that, man. Go Time 2 will be here next month. And, you know, this week we're doing a town hall. So if you haven't gotten your emails to us, send your emails to us at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's INFO at thefinalbosspodcast.com, all one word, so you can get and be a part of our town halls, man. We have a lot of touching questions. My veterans community, listen, I need you guys to continue to send in your letters and your questions, man. We love to read them. We love to hear about it. And we love to see that you know your transition and how you're doing. So to everybody else, smarts, motivators, warriors, and final bosses, this is the Final Boss Podcast. Molly's in the building, Jacondi's in the building. We got a full house. Auntie's in the building, man. We got a full house tonight, man, and we are about to get ready to get started. And let's get rid of these banners first, right? Let's get rid of these banners. Banners are out of here. So tonight, right? Tonight, like I said, for those who are just now joining us, you're joining us at a great moment, right? You're joining us at a great moment. This is season 4, The Rebirth, Art for the Construction, episode number 262, on our way to episode 300. Tonight, we're going to be talking about something that we've talked about in the past, but it's here. Q-Day is coming and nobody told your business, right? So let's get right into it. Sensei, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
All right, man. Let's get right into it. Okay. All right. All those comments are there. I see. All right. So look, we have to talk to you about these things, guys, right? And one of the big things that we've talked about in the past, we talked about a possibility or technology and AI is going to come to a point where your encryption will be disappearing, right? Well, we're going to talk about that tonight. And as a matter of fact, your encryption has an expiration date. You don't know what it is, and neither does your bank. Your government knows, Google knows, the adversaries collecting your data right now definitely know, and they're sitting on it, waiting, right? Maliciously just waiting, right? The clock already started and nobody sent you the notification. And tonight, the Sensei and the Final Boss will break down the threat that makes every cybersecurity conversation we have ever had look like a warning label, right? Season 4, The Rebirth, Art for the Construction. If you are building something worth protecting, you want to be in here for this conversation, right? You want to be in the chat. You want to be in the room. But before we get started with that, man, drop in the chat, right? Drop in the chat right now, the fist emoji, and let us know that you are interested in what we're about to say, man. And what we're about to say is, man, there's a deadline coming, right? Let's start with the brass tacks. Let's talk about the deadline. Let's start with the brass tacks. The brass tacks is here. And here it is. The deadline is not the day quantum computers break your encryption. The deadline already passed for any data that needed to stay confidential for a decade, right? And that comes from ITECS, Post-Quantum Cryptography Complete Guide of 2026, right? And if you're just now joining us, man, that was the brass tacks. And if you're just now joining us, welcome. Look, tonight's topic is not a forecast, right? We're not doing doom and gloom. We're bringing the facts to you, right? And look, it's not a countdown, right? It's not a countdown because it's already running. Smarts already felt this coming. Final bosses need to know what it means for everything they are building. And my motivators need to hear what sovereign preparation looks like. And the warriors need the tactical brief, right? The Sensei has the weapon specs. final boss has the hard verdict. Man, let's get into it, right? So, Sensei, you got the floor.
All right. Right now, tonight, while this podcast is streaming live, someone somewhere on a government server is storing a copy of encrypted data. And here's the key thing that they cannot read yet.
Yet.
Yeah, that word's doing a lot of work right now. Okay, I mean,
Right.
look, they're not cracking encryption tonight. Okay, they're not even trying, but they are filing it and labeling it, storing it on cheap hard drives in a rack somewhere that's cold and patient. Look, they don't need it tonight. Tonight's just the harvest, and we've talked about this in the past. We've talked about the quantum apocalypse. Okay. Tonight is the harvest, the decryption comes later, and that is the whole play.
And here's where what makes this thing terrifying, right? They don't need to be in a hurry. Hey, storage is cheap, right? Time is on their side. And they are not under pressure to crack anything today because the tool that cracks it does not exist today, right? Imagine they're planning for the future. But it is being built, and it's being built right now. And labs you have never heard of, and countries you know better than to underestimate, with budgets that do not make the news, right? No. Nasty work.
It's not, nobody's even talking about it. It's not even in the news, right?
Yeah, it's not even in
the
news.
And here's the key word: when that tool exists, not if. When that tool exists, everything collected between now and that day becomes readable. And I'm not talking future, I'm talking retroactively. Right. Everything ever copied, everything ever stored, all of it, 100% in sequence. So whatever was encrypted in 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, all of that, we're talking that far already. And in IT, months are like years.
Yeah.
Years are like decades. Okay. So the date the file was created does not protect it. The strength of your current password does not protect it. The reputation of your VPN provider does not protect it either. Because the lock itself, okay, it's terrible, terrifying.
No, go ahead, say what you was about to say. You was about
the lock itself is the problem.
Not the key.
No.
Not the door.
Nope.
The mathematics underneath the lock is what breaks it.
Right. And we've talked about this. Again, we reference back to some of our older podcasts. If you want to know what's going on, go back and watch about the quantum apocalypse.
Right.
Quantum computing does not pick your lock. It just makes your lock obsolete. It's a completely different category of threat. And that's what tonight is about. Man, we got a great show for you guys, man. I need you to stay tuned. Stay with us, right? Because look, this isn't a warning, right? This isn't a warning. And it's definitely not a warning label episode, right? This is a clock episode. So start setting those clocks. And we're going to tell you exactly what is happening and exactly what is coming and exactly what the sovereign does about it, right? So stay in your seats. This one matters. It's true. This one actually matters. This is super important to pay attention to. Sensei, let's go. And look, listen, before we go anywhere, let me acknowledge who is locked in with us tonight, right? Because this room is never random. The people who find this show, who show up on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time to talk about technology and sovereignty and what it actually takes to build something that lasts, these are not casual observers, man. These people are operators, and we're live, right? And to my smarts, the thinkers and the architects and the analysts, the ones who already had a tab open on quantum computing before I even finished saying the words,
I know you guys are out there, right? You already know something is coming. Tonight, we're going to give you the full picture. And to my final bosses, the builders, the CEOs, the founders, the operators running businesses and protecting the client relationships and holding assets that took years to build. You need to know what is at risk and what to do about it, right? And that is exactly what tonight is going to deliver, right? And to my motivators, the ones who show up even when the topic sounds complicated, because they understand that the sovereign never stops learning and never stops preparing. You're the reason the community keeps moving forward, even when the subject matter is uncomfortable, right? And my warriors, the battle tested, the veterans, my favorite people, right? The ones who know from experience that the best defense is understanding the threat before it arrives. You're going to feel this episode differently than most, and that is exactly the point. All four of you needed to hear this episode. All four of you are going to leave with something questionable. Sensei, my man, you have the floor.
So this topic, because it's so important, this belongs to all of those groups, all of them equally. And there's no version of this threat that skips your category. No version at all. It doesn't matter if you're a solo entrepreneur, a mid-sized firm, if you're a government contractor, or a veteran running a small business. The math applies to everyone equally.
Equally. And you know, we got questions before we go further. Molly has a question. She's asking a very, very valid question, Sensei. She says, does it mean that Q-Day can collapse the internet? I think we're going to talk about that later on in the conversation. But let's put that in the top of mind, man. Let's put that at the top of mind. Molly, your question is going to the top of mind. It's going to be tier 1, and we're going to get to it, right? Because the math does not offer exemptions. Sensei, let's go.
So, look, there's 3 research papers about quantum threat timelines, and I have to be honest, I'm not okay. And in the best possible way, this is the episode I've been wanting to do on the show for a long time, because this gets down into the meat and potatoes of what's really happening.
And you know, the energy that you're giving, I need you guys to see the seriousness, right? I need you to see the seriousness, right? And this is the type of energy we need for this particular season, this arc, for this episode, right? And this is the right timing. And we're going to be talking about something that touches every business, every household, every device that has ever transmitted a protected piece of information across the network, right? The threat does not care about your industry vertical. It does not care about your annual revenue. It does not care about how sophisticated your current security stack is.
Because all of encryption is based on math, and math does not negotiate.
Say that again for us.
The math does not negotiate.
That's right. Look, y'all need to write that down, right? Tattoo it somewhere, put it on the sticky note, right? And look, this is the construction. So we're building. And the security infrastructure most of us are building was designed for a world that is being quietly dismantled, right? Quietly dismantled. And tonight, we're going to lay it all out, right? So
let me ground this for everybody in the room who's not coming from a deep tech background, because not everybody is. And this topic is going to sound very complicated, but the core concept is something that everyone can hold. It's real simple. Encryption is a lock, a mathematical lock. When you send an email, when you make a bank transfer, and when you sign a contract digitally, and even when a hospital stores your medical records, or a government agency transmits classified intelligence, all of that information gets wrapped in a mathematical puzzle before it travels or rests.
a puzzle that is supposed to be impossible to solve without the right key.
Right. And the reason the encryption has worked for decades is the puzzle underneath is based on a specific type of math problem that classical computers, meaning the ones we use now, cannot solve in any useful amount of time. It takes too long to break a key. The dominant standard right now is called RSA 2048. It's based on the difficulty of factoring enormous numbers. So two very large prime numbers multiplied together, and the product is what's called your public key. So factoring, which is unlocking, is factoring it back into the two originals of the lock. So it's a lock and a key. You have to have both pieces, otherwise it doesn't work. And on a classical computer, solving that problem would take much longer than the current age of the entire universe.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Longer than the age of the universe? That sounds permanent.
Yeah. So of course it sounds permanent. And for classical computers, it's pretty much effectively is permanent. But quantum computers do not solve problems in the way that classical computers do. They use a completely different computational model and a specific algorithm, and it's called, they got a name for it, Shor's algorithm. It allows a sufficiently powerful quantum computer to attack the factoring problem in a way that completely rewrites the timeline.
You said something there, right? From the age of the universe to what?
Under a week.
Wow.
Now, with the right machine,
wow.
Google's own quantum research team, they've already published findings, they've already done it, showing a quantum computer with under 1 million physical qubits, that's a term they use in quantum computing, could factor a 2048-bit RSA key in less than a week. And that's not science fiction. This is a published technical paper in 2026.
Wow. 1 million qubits sounds like it should be far away.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, a qubit counts and the error correction capabilities are both improving faster than most public projections could ever project. The gap between where quantum hardware is today and where it needs to be,
right,
to break the RSA 2048, it's narrowing on a curve, not in a straight line. And I'm going to tell you why. It is because we are moving from two-dimensional thinking to three-dimensional thinking. Imagine if your encryption's on a flat piece of paper, and you can only see the flat piece of paper, and it can take a long time to figure that out. Imagine now you're thinking three-dimensional.
Right.
And that's the difference between standard computing, two-dimensional thinking, and quantum computing, which is three-dimensional thinking.
Okay. Now, that's, ladies and gentlemen, smarts, final bosses, warriors, motivators. Listen, that's not a vulnerability. That is a fundamental structural failure of the entire cryptographic system on the modern economy that runs on, right?
Yeah. It's a paradigm shift, okay? It's not hypothetical. And the evidence is in the research, in the policy responses, in the NIST standards. And NIST is the National Institute for Standards, okay? They were finalized in 2024. This is not new.
Wow.
And in the behavior of the adversaries, she started collecting encrypted data years ago. Why did they start collecting it years ago? Because they specifically knew this moment was coming.
Look, y'all heard the brass tacks, right? Y'all heard the brass tacks, and I need y'all to hear this, right? Now, write this down, right? Write this down, because this is important. The deadline is not the day quantum computers break their encryption. The deadline already passed for any data that needed to stay confidential for a decade, right? That came from ITECS, Post-Quantum Cryptography Complete Guide of 2026. It still lands like a brick, and it should. And I need y'all to write that down, right?
And there's a reason why it hits so hard. because there are three concepts that form the complete threat model right tonight. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand all three of what's actually happening and why that timeline is what it is. First, harvest. Collect now.
Right.
Decrypt later. That's the
Mm-hmm.
key. That's
Okay.
step one. The
Right.
second is when Q day happens. That's when the actual defecation strikes the oscillating device.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The third is the migration gap. So walk with me on this one.
All right. Take us through each one.
All right, harvest now, decrypt later. Nation state adversaries, and we're specifically talking about state sponsored intelligence operations with serious infrastructure, serious patience,
Okay.
serious budget. They're actively collecting encrypted data right now. They're not cracking it, they're not touching it, they're just collecting it. And the collection phase does not require a quantum computer. It just requires network access, lots of storage, and a long-term strategy.
And all three of those, they have an abundance.
Of course, because hard drive storage is cheap.
Mm.
And we know that because when you buy a USB stick,
Yeah.
they used to be 128 megabytes. Now your cheap ones are 16 gigabytes,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
storage is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap enough that collecting and archiving encrypted internet traffic, read my lips,
Right.
internet traffic. And where does everybody pushing their traffic to nowadays? The big kick is put it where? In the
The
cloud.
cloud.
So
Right.
everybody's
Right.
putting their data in the cloud, so that's internet traffic
Mm-hmm.
at scale. And it's
Right.
operationally feasible for a well-resourced adversary to capture everything that's across the internet. So they're building libraries, financial records, legal filings, medical records, proprietary business communications. Shit, they're getting government intelligence traffic,
Mm.
personal communication between executives and their lawyers. All of it's
Wow.
encrypted. All of it's being stored. Why? Because all of it is moving across the internet. Oh, well, I push my traffic across the VPN. What's a VPN? Encrypted traffic. It's
Encrypted
still
traffic.
captured. You can still capture the traffic. You just don't do anything
Mm-hmm.
with it. It's
Right.
all being stored. Everything, the entire internet's traffic is being stored right now. All of it
Wow.
waiting for the day the math breaks. And it blows me away that so many people are constantly still today pushing, put it in the cloud, put it in the cloud, put it in the cloud. I'm like, oh my God.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sensei, the data you encrypted in 2022 or 2023, that's going to get decrypted. The day the quantum machine says, hello, I'm here, right? The encryption was not permanent. It was a time delay lock. That's what it
Now,
was.
think about this. Okay. My focus went crazy.
Hmm.
Woo, my focus.
Woo, boom.
Yeah.
You
So
need
think
some
about
explosions?
this. Yeah, I don't know. I'll shut my camera off for a second.
Oh,
So
okay.
think about this. I'll keep talking though.
Okay.
Think about this. All right. And this is important. All you have to do is unlock. Okay. Oh yeah, we all kinds of out of focus. All you
Uh-oh.
have to do is unlock. Once you unlock, it's not like you have to decrypt everything. You've got the key. So therefore,
Yeah.
you have access to the data. This is called retroactive exposure, and that's the term.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you protected under current standards has a retroactive exposure risk the moment the Q day arrives. And a Q day is the second concept. Q day is the name for the moment when a cryptographically relevant quantum computer exists. And that's the day the lock breaks at scale, the whole lock at scale.
You good?
I'm just blurry.
Okay.
I
All
don't mind.
right.
I don't mind. I don't mind being blurry. Either that or I leave and come back in, and I'm not going to do that. So we're good.
No, we're good, man. We got you.
No, I don't
Wait a
mind being
minute.
blurry.
And when does wait a minute, hold up, man. When does the research say that is?
When does the research say it is?
Yeah.
this is conservative estimates, and I think it's going to be closer than this, because every time we get a number, what happens? They move the
It
goalpost,
decreased. It moved.
and
Yeah, it moved
it
so
gets
close. Yeah.
closer and closer and closer. Okay, so
Yeah.
I personally say the current estimates place the window between 2030 and 2035.
Right.
No, I'm calling that. You have to remember, we're already halfway through what?
We already
2026.
have.
Okay.
Yeah, we already here halfway through 2026.
Okay.
Exactly.
And here's what people miss about that range. It's not a hard stop date that gives you until 2029 to act. It's a probability distribution that's compressing. So every major quantum hardware milestone, every time you hear something in the news about they've made a new breakthrough, you just take that time frame and go whoop, whoop, whoop. That's what's happening. It's instant. It's happening. There's been several of these in the last 18 months, and each one of them has significantly narrowed that window. So again and again and again, every time we hear news about quantum computing and quantum technology, every time you hear a whisper in the news, and I'm talking tech news, not the
Yeah.
other news. You'll never
Right.
hear
Right.
about any of this in the tech in
No.
regular news. If you're listening to tech circles,
Mm-hmm.
every little blip you hear takes that window. It's like you're burning the rope faster and
Right.
faster and faster.
Faster.
Like when you're a survivor and you're building the fire,
Right.
that's what's happening.
And we're gonna burn the wick, right?
Oh, it's the fire challenge, man. We're doing the fire challenge. That's what we're doing right now.
Right. That's exactly what we're doing. Which brings us to the migration gap.
Oh my God. The migration gap. That's a piece that makes this a problem, a right now problem, not a future problem. Okay. This is not a down the road problem. Doesn't take weeks to migrate an organization's cryptographic infrastructure to quantum resistant standards. It takes years. Look, a large enterprise with complex systems could be looking at a 3 to 5 year full migration timeline. Now, a smaller operation with cleaner architecture might compress that, but nobody's going to do it in a month. Nobody's going to do it without a plan, a budget, and skilled personnel. And the saddest part is, again, so you migrate your data. Your future data is encrypted once you change, but what about all of your previous data that's already out there, already been captured? That ship has sailed.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So if Q-Day is hypothetical, if Q-Day lands in 2030 and you start your migration in 2029, you don't make it. You arrive at Q-Day exposed and scrambling.
Yeah, because the clock already started before most organizations even knew there was a clock. Right now, companies are wanting to cut their IT budgets like you wouldn't believe, not realizing how much of an exposure that they are subjecting themselves to, because they're cutting the very people and the very budgets which are going to protect them.
Exactly.
It's like taking the brakes off of your car, and you're fine on a straight line.
Right.
What happens when a curve comes up?
Sure.
Right. And that's the migration gap. That's the part of the conversation that turns urgency from a feeling into a mathematical reality.
Man, thank you for that, sir. Thank you. Look, I got a question for the community, and listen, and I want y'all to hear this, right? And listen to the question. If this is real, if this is known, if the threat has been documented, what is our government doing about it?
Well, more than most people realize, but again, not enough people know about it.
Right.
Look, in August 2024, now that's almost 2 years ago, NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, okay, they finalized the world's first post-quantum cryptography standards. So in other words, there's a standard right now to protect data post-quantum.
Right.
Already out there, and there's 3 of them. It's FIPS 203, FIPS 204, and FIPS 205. Also known by their algorithm names, MLKEM, MLDSA, and SLHDSA. Now, those are the new locks. That's what they are. And we used to use DES, DES, 3 DES was called triple DES and
Mm-hmm.
AES. Those were our locks. These are
Right.
the new locks.
Okay.
Mathematical foundations designed to be resistant to both classical and quantum corrupting attacks.
So the replacement exists.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it
Okay.
was finalized, published, and free to access.
Mm.
The NIST ran a years-long global competition where the cryptographic research community around the world attacked every candidate algorithm. The ones that survived, including Kyber, KYBER, is now called MLKEM,
Okay.
and dilithium, which is now
Mm.
called MLDSA.
Mm-hmm.
Those went through years of crypto analysis by some of the sharpest mathematical minds in the planet. No classical or quantum attack has made meaningful progress against them. And these are not experimental. These are production ready standards.
And the big players are already moving.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
And think about this. We like to call Google the dark
Mm-hmm.
master, like, the Sith.
Right.
Okay. And we like to call Microsoft the Borg, because with
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft, it's be assimilated or die. And with Google, they're just the darkest master there is. Okay. So,
Okay.
they'll corrupt your soul. So Google has migrated its own services to a quantum resistant key exchange. This is quantum resistant
Right.
using MLKEM in 2026, this year. They did
Wow.
not wait for a mandatory regulation that came out.
Of
They did
course.
not wait for regulations. They moved
Mm-hmm.
because they understand the threat model and they had the resources to act early. Cloudflare. I don't know if you know who Cloudflare is, but they're big boys.
Mm-hmm.
They deployed hybrid because hybrid is what's coming. It's not pure quantum, it's hybrid. It does classical and quantum. That's where we're at. Okay? Because it's got to be backwards compatible.
Right.
If it's not backwards compatible, it doesn't work on the old stuff.
Exactly.
So we're in a hybrid post-quantum key exchange to billions of users. Apple has followed. The bottom of the internet stack, the layer that every website, every app, and every cloud service sits on top of, is already migrating.
But what about the businesses that are in this room right now?
Hell, they don't even know what it is.
Hmm.
They haven't even started. Look, the NIST set a mandate for quantum resistant algorithm implementation with enterprise compliance deadlines beginning in May of 2026. That's
That was last
last
month.
month.
Wow.
The NSA's Commercial National Security Algorithm Suite 2.0 requires PQC for national security systems, new ones, starting in 2027. And NIST's own transition plan deprecates the standard, which we use right now, which is RSA 2048. And on your phones and your lightweight, it's called ECC, which is ecliptical curve. Okay, that's for the lightweight stuff by 2030. And it removes all quantum vulnerable algorithms from its standards by 2035.
So there is a hard regulatory timeline attached to this. Not a best practice from what it sounds like. Definitely not a recommendation, but a mandate that exists with dates.
Absolutely. And for anybody operating in a regulated industry, if you're touching federal contracts, yes. And look, what's your biggies? What's your biggies? Government, banking, and healthcare.
Right.
Those are your top three. Okay. This compliance infrastructure with the enforcement teeth attached. For everybody else, it's survival infrastructure. Because the client who finds out in 2030 that their sensitive data was retroactively exposed because their platform never migrated, it's not going to be a client anymore.
Right. And my team knows this, right? We've dealt with the government and the enterprise contracts. We live in the compliance lane every single day. We know exactly what failure costs in this environment. And I want the entire room in the chat to hear what the sensei just laid out, man. The standards are finalized. The mandate is dated. The migration is not optional. The only question left is when do you start, right? When do you start? And, we have to have a cost confession, right? We have to have a cost confession because we wouldn't be our show if we didn't, right? And we're talking about real numbers, right? There's a name attached, and we're not going to be talking about rounding. We're not talking about no ranges that make the conversation comfortable. We talk about the uncomfortable, right? And you know what the sovereign grade cybersecurity infrastructure actually costs to build and maintain for a service disabled veteran-owned small business in a PQC era? Well, here it is, right? Let's talk about it.
Wait. Let's talk about the real number.
The real number. Listen, a foundational post-quantum migration assessment for small to mid-sized businesses starts between 15,000 to 40,000, depending on system complexity and how much cryptographic infrastructure is already documented. You heard that, right? That is the assessment alone. That is before a single system gets migrated. A full cryptographic asset inventory, which is not the first required step in the NIST and in CISA, right? Their migration playbook. Before you can even migrate anything, that ranges between 8,000 to 25,000 by itself, depending on the size of the environment.
And that's the part that most people, they just completely skip it. They're like, well, it's a standard cost. No, it's not.
Right. And it gets skipped the most because organizations do not know that they need it. They think they can just go straight to deploying new encryption and the work is done. But you cannot migrate what you cannot find. And the Entrust 2026 research found that 43% of organizations cannot even inventory their cryptographic assets. They do not know what they have or where it lives.
And you are not going to protect what you don't see.
Look, that exactly, Sensei, exactly. And now, look, ongoing quantum self-compliance monitoring after the inventory and initial migration runs between $3,000 to $12,000 per year at the entry tier, depending on environment size and regulatory requirements. Now, here's what those numbers buy you, right? They buy you the right to stand in front of the federal client in 2027 and say your infrastructure meets NSA compliance requirements. They buy you the right to build on contracts that will require PQC as the baseline qualification. They buy you the ability to tell your clients with a straight face that your data cannot be retroactively exposed by a quantum-capable adversary.
And they also buy you a competitive separation from the competitors who waited.
And that's the play. That, my friends, is the real play. Being quantum ready in 2027 is a differentiator. By 2030, it is a baseline expectation. Get there while it still sets you apart from the field. Listen, the name is attached. Final boss, right? Founder of SatDigiNet, service disabled veteran-owned cybersecurity firm. We deal in real numbers because the operators in the room deserve real numbers.
And that's the cost confession that actually costs something. And it lands exactly the way it should.
Exactly, right? Now, look, let's talk about what is actually sitting exposed in your environment right now. Let's talk about that.
So, you want to see what's under the skirt, huh?
Yeah, pull up the skirt.
I want to get specific. Now, you could also be Scottish, you could be wearing one of those too, a kilt.
Yeah.
So I want to be specific about what's sitting exposed in a typical business environment, because most operators, they think about cybersecurity in terms of the visible surface. Like they're going to think about firewalls. They're going to think about antivirus. And the big key thing we're doing nowadays is it's called multi-factor authentication, okay?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Maybe even VPNs. And even you do multi-factor authentication on VPNs, okay? And those things matter. And they're all sitting on top of a cryptographic layer that most people have never thought of, and
Right.
most businesses have never even audited.
The foundation under the foundation.
Yeah. I mean, every business has cryptographic assets. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
most don't know how many.
Yeah.
We have certificates. If you have a website and you want to make it secure, then you need a certificate. It's called TLS
Right.
certificates. You buy them,
Mm-hmm.
and that a third party testifies that you are who you say you are. So therefore, we
Mm-hmm.
trust that you are who you say you are because you've been
Right.
vouched for by a third party.
Right.
Every padlock icon in your browser, you go to web browser, you go to website, you go to the top, you look for the lock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a TLS certificate backed by what? RSA or ECC math.
Mm-hmm.
Your SSH keys. This is how we talk securely to our firewalls, our routers, and etc. We use SSH.
Right.
When we talk to
Right.
Linux, we use SSH.
Mm-hmm.
Those keys, which control administrative access to servers and cloud infrastructure. The VPN tunnels, which protect remote work communications and site-to-site connections. And for everybody else that doesn't deal with that, your email encryption, your digital signatures. If your
Mm-hmm.
organization uses them, digital signatures on contracts and on legal documents. And these code signing certificates that verify the software is authentic.
Right.
And then moving on to your databases, they have encryption keys protecting stored client records.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your programming, you use API authentication tokens connecting your services to third-party platforms. So this isn't just one layer. We're talking layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. It's just deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like an onion. You keep peeling off more layers, but they're all based on the same math.
Right. And every single one of those are important. Every single one of those items.
Yeah, and every single one of those built on the old math. It's either
Mm-hmm.
RSA or ECC. The math that Shor's algorithm dismantles already. And here, it's the operational reality that makes this so difficult. Most organizations do not have a complete current inventory of every cryptographic asset and environment. Hell, they don't even have an inventory of all their hardware, for God's sake.
True.
Most companies don't know what they have. They don't know everything they
They
own.
don't. They don't.
They just don't. There's stuff that's everywhere that nobody knows. What is
Yeah.
that? I don't know.
Hidden in
I mean,
closets.
that's right. Systems get built
Yeah.
over time by different teams
Mm-hmm.
using different tools. And then when you start
Right.
stripping your IT staff down to nothing, all the institutional memory goes away.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you have different certificate expiration dates
Mm-hmm.
and different key management practices, all this is not, if you don't track it and manage it, then it's
Yeah.
just floating around out there, hoping that
Yep.
nobody attacks it. The result is a cryptographic environment is partially visible at best.
Absolutely. And look, you can't migrate what you can't find. You said that earlier.
Yeah. 43% of organizations, almost half, report they cannot even inventory the cryptographic assets. They can't tell you how many TLS certificates they have. They don't even know when they expire, which systems use those keys, or where their encryption is being applied. They have no idea. And
Yeah.
you can't build a migration plan for something you have not even mapped.
And see, that's the thing. That is the thing that does not get said clearly enough in these conversations. The enemy does not need you to be fully compromised to benefit from your unpreparedness. They just need you to still be running RSA 2048 and 2030 when the math breaks. That's all they need. They already have the data. They are waiting on the tool, right?
And the first move is always going to be the audit. And when you say the word audit, people think audit's a bad thing. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Audit's a good thing. That's what matters. You got to know what
Right.
you got. You have to
Exactly.
understand your exposure, and the audit lets you know what your exposure is. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the migration. That's after. After you know how vulnerable you are, then you begin the migration. The audit matters. The audit maps every certificate, every key, every encrypted channel in your entire environment before you even touch a single system. You're learning about the building blocks of your foundation. And this is step one of the CISA playbook that is non-negotiable. You cannot skip it, you cannot rush it, or estimate your way through it. And again, I keep saying this, these companies are laying off tens of thousands of staff and stripping their IT departments down to nothing so they can send it off overseas are losing the ability to even have eyes on their assets.
The earthquake is already on a seismograph. And the only question is whether your structure was built to handle what is coming.
And right now, for most organizations, the honest answer, it's no.
Absolutely no. Right? That's uncomfortable. And speaking of uncomfortable, listen, the uncomfortable verdict is this. And I'm going to say something in this segment that most people in cybersecurity conversations, they're dancing around this conversation. And they're hitting at it, right? And they might be implying it, but they are not saying it directly. And I'm going to say it directly because it is what we do on this very show. And this is what this community deserves to hear, right? Listen, if sophisticated nation state adversaries have been running harvest now, decrypt later operations since 2020, 2021, 2022, or earlier, and the majority of businesses have done nothing about their cryptographic posture in that time, then a significant portion of what you believed you're protected over in the last several years is already sitting in someone else's encrypted archive, waiting, filed, and labeled, and stored on servers that you would never get to see, in buildings you would never visit, operated by people whose job description is patience. And that is not theory, good people. That is confirmed threat activity. Google publicly confirmed that adversaries are actively harvesting encrypted data in store now, decrypt later operations. NIST built the entire post-quantum cryptography program in direct response to confirmed intelligence about this exact threat model. The intelligence community and the FBI have been tracking state-sponsored data collection operations for years. The documentation exists. The policy response exists. The standards exist. The threat is not theoretical.
And this is what makes this threat category unlike every other one we have talked about on the show.
Every other threat we've covered on Tech Tuesdays in real time. We talked about ransomware, which detonates and you would know within minutes. We talked about a phishing attack that succeeds and the attacker in your environment have alerts that can fire, right? And an AI-powered malware campaign runs and security tools can detect the anomaly. All those threats operate in the present tense. You know when they hit. This one does not. You would not know the data was read until Q day. And by then, the archive is already open.
And this is the scary part about it. Even if you encrypt your data now with a new style, a new post, quantum algorithms, your old data is already there. It has the old keys. It's already there. It's already static. We like to say this. You can't unsteal data. Do you remember when Sony had that breach where they stole the movie and it got out? You can never unsteal data. Okay. Right. Once data's stolen, it's stolen. So here's what we're having right now. All this data is being stolen right now. You can't unsteal it. And then once the key is there, it unlocks this and the lock is no longer good. That old data is already stolen. Count it, it's already compromised. And look, and a sovereign response to that reality, it's not panic. Panic does not migrate an encryption standard. The sovereign response is movement.
Exactly. Movement with a plan. The question is not whether you should be concerned. The question is whether you're going to be in the 9% organizations that already have a post-quantum roadmap or the 91% that is going to be scrambling under compliance pressure in 2029. When the window is closing and the vendors are backed up and the rates have tripled. The sovereign does not scramble. The sovereign builds while there's still time to build at a measured pace.
And that's the verdict. I mean, it's uncomfortable. It's true, but it is still actionable.
And everything we say on this show is actionable, man. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So, Sensei, I hope everyone is following along and they understand and they're taking great notes for this conversation, man. We're about to close out very soon. And we're just tipping the iceberg. We are just tipping the iceberg, and we got 5 minutes to go before we close. And I must say, some of this stuff sounds very scary. Some of it sounds very scary. But to my final bosses, we talked about at the very top of the episode, we had a question and we didn't answer. And I told you someone was storing your encrypted data right now. They're filing it, waiting. And I asked what the sovereign does about that, right? This is where we're going to talk about that before we close, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wait, you're coming at me. Hold on. Okay.
So we had the question come up, what happens to the internet? The internet can break. I think that everything that talks about cryptography, you're not going to trust anything anymore, is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's what's going to happen. All right. So look, the organization that start in 2028, what's going to happen with those guys? They begin their migration in 2026 and complete it by 2029. And that window that's open, it's a small window because we're in the middle of 2026 already. It's a real achievable window.
It is.
The transition for a complex enterprise level environment takes 3 to 5 years from start to completion. If Q-Day arrives in 2030 or 2031,
right,
the organization start moving now will arrive at that date with quantum resistant infrastructure in place. For their future data, again, not the old stuff. Their archived data is not readable by a quantum adversary because it was never encrypted with quantum vulnerable standards in the first place. If they encrypt it now, the stuff that's already been taken from 2020 all the way up to now, write that off. Sad to say that, but you're going to have to be serious thinking about writing that stuff off. Nobody's talking about that. Okay? The archive data, look, if the migration was completed early enough to cover the exposure window, that's your new data, but that's not your historical old stuff that's already captured now. And we're not talking, again, I said a year's worth of data now is what used to be a decade's worth of data.
Yeah, true. And the organizations you mentioned and that start in 2028, they're going to be scrambling. The organizations that have not started yet will be exposed. And that's not a scare tactic. That is the math of the migration applied to the Q-Day timeline. It is the Mosca's theorem, and it is a published risk framework that compares your migration timeline against your data's required confidentiality duration against the estimated arrival of cryptographically relevant quantum computers, right? If those three numbers do not add up in your favor, you are already at an actual risk.
And you think the big players that gain access to these massive computers that are capable, do you think they're going to tell everybody they have it?
No.
They're not going to say. They're going to quietly sit there as long as they can and go, I don't know what you're talking about. What? This is what you're going to see. You're going to see a whole lot of this. What? And there is good news. The actual good news is this window is still open for the operators in this room. And here's why. Because the standards have already been finalized. The playbook is already published. The technology is already in production at Google, Cloudflare, and Apple right now. And the vendors who can execute the migration do exist. The service providers who specialize in this space do exist. Every resource required to move is available today. But what's the first thing you got to do? Audit.
Audit. That's it. The sovereign who starts moving in the next 90 days is not just protecting what they built, they're building a competitive position. Federal contracting requirements will mandate PQC compliance for vendors. Enterprise clients will begin requiring it from their service providers as of 2027. NSA deadline hits, right? Being quantum ready ahead of the market is a differentiation story right now. And by 2030, it will be a table stakes requirement. The operators who get there early own the high ground.
And the construction season is the time to build the structure before the market demands it. Build your foundation now, not after.
Yeah.
The sovereign does not build to catch up. The sovereign builds to lead. When everybody else is trying to dig a foundation, you're putting up walls.
Yep. And the people who stored your encrypted data are betting you would never start moving until it's too late. That calculation is based on historical human behavior, and 90% of the data supports it. The 10% in this room tonight prove the calculation is wrong. Start the audit, pull the playbook, make the call. The window is still open. You need to use it. All right. Community assessment time. This is not optional. We're going to go over just a little bit, right? So stay with us. This is not optional, and this is not being vague. Every group in this room leaves tonight with a specific executable action step that can be completed before your next Tuesday. Not a concept, not an intention, an action, right? And my smart your assignment is the cryptographic inventory start. And you need to start that this week. Map every tool, every platform, every cloud service, every communication system you use professionally that involves data transmission or encrypted storage. For each one, write down whether you know if it has a post-quantum migration roadmap. If you do not know, you need to flag it. Unknown equals exposed. And by next Tuesday, you will have a clear picture of the cryptographic surface area than 43% of organizations that have been in business for years. That gap between you and them is now a competitive intelligence advantage.
And the inventory, of course, is the foundation of every migration plan that's ever worked. You can't skip it, and you can't estimate your way through it. You've got to do the work.
Got to do the work. And final bosses, your assignment is the vendor question. This week, identify your 3 most critical third-party vendors on your platform, right? The ones that touch your client data, your financial transactions, or your sensitive business communications. Connect each one directly and ask the following exact question. Does your organization have a post-quantum cryptography migration roadmap? And if so, what is the target completion date? And which NIST FIPS standards are you targeting? The answer tells you your exposure. A vendor that cannot answer that question is a risk you need to factor into the security posture immediately.
Look, and their posture is your posture. And that's not a metaphor. This is how supply chain cryptographic exposure works.
Right. And motivators, your assignment is the conversation. This week, share this episode with 2 people in your network who are operators but are not tech native, right? They need this briefing more than most and more than almost anyone. And the sovereign takes responsibility for making sure that the people in the orbit are not left uninformed when the information exists and is accessible. One forward, one conversation. That is the assignment.
And if you don't know how to do it, this is so easy. We have AI. Go on to chat. Just so simple. Go to chat and say, I need to create an audit for cryptographic inventory. How do I do that? And guess what you're going to get? A roadmap on exactly how to do an audit. It's right there. One sentence, It gives you everything you need that's actionable. You can pull that out and use that as your roadmap to have an actual accurate audit. And one question is all I gave it. One sentence. This is not rocket science. This is not hidden information. This is here. And the Warriors assignment is the most operationally specific one.
And speaking of Warriors, you want to go ahead? You know what, Sensei? Tell them about the Warriors. Talk to the Warriors.
So this is the compliance timeline review. Okay. If you hold any federal contract or any government adjacent work, any data that has defense or intelligence adjacent sensitivity, you better pull your current compliance documentation this week, and you better map it against the NSA 2027 mandate. And if you don't know how to do that, pull what you have and do a comparison. Pull out your sensitive data, load your document, and say, compare this against the NSA 2027 mandate and tell me what I lack. And the NIST 2030 deprecation schedule. You'll get a roadmap, again, on here's the things you're lacking, what you have to fix. And if you're not on a migration timeline that covers that window, that gap you identify this week is the work that protects everything you built in uniform and everything you have built since. 4 groups, 4 concrete actions, 7 days. Sovereign does not leave a briefing without the next move. Do not come back next Tuesday with nothing done.
Exactly. Now, let me bring this home, right? Let me bring this home because we're about to close. Thank you for staying with us, man. And here's what we covered tonight in full, right? We covered what encryption is and why the mathematical foundation it sits on is vulnerable to quantum computing in a way that classical threats are not. We covered the 3-part threat model: harvest now, decrypt later. We talked about Q-Day and the migration gap and why all 3 together make this a right now problem rather than a future problem. We covered the NIST standards that give us the quantum resistant solution and the CISA and NSA and NIST joint migration playbook that tells organizations exactly how to execute. We covered that Google, Cloudflare, and Apple have already done and why their behavior is the most informed risk signal available. We covered the military and federal angle for every veteran, government contractor, and defense adjacent operator in the room. We covered the psychology of why organizations delay and why the sovereign refuses to operate that way. We covered the 6-step framework. We closed the open loop on who wins when Q-Day arrives. And get this, we gave every community group a specific executable action before next Tuesday.
And this quantum threat, okay, we're not panicking. It's not approaching. It's already in motion against the stored encrypted data now. And the only question that matters tonight is what posture are you in when the math finally catches up with the hardware.
That's it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, motivators, smarts, warriors, final bosses, this is season 4, the rebirth arc for the construction. The sovereign does not build on a foundation they have not yet pressure tested. And right now, the cryptographic foundation underneath most of the digital structures being built in this country has not been tested against what is coming. Tonight, you received that briefing. The decision of what to do with it is yours, right? My smarts, my final bosses, my motivators, my warriors. This is exactly why we are here every Tuesday night. Not to be afraid, but to be prepared. Not to react to the storm, but build a structure that stands through it before the storm arrives. The final boss does not wait for the damage to decide to protect what they built. The final boss builds the protection into the structure from the beginning. That is the construction. That is what Arc 4 is. That's what season 4 is. The rebirth in motion. Sensei, send us home.
Oh, okay. So, end of this month, I'm embarking on the One More Day project. This summer, I'll be riding over 6,400 miles across America on my motorcycle. on a mission that I'm calling it One More Day. The ride begins in Yuma, Arizona, and travels all the way across the country to Whitesville, New York, then turns west through the Midwest, Montana, Idaho, Washington, and eventually back home in Arizona. But this is not about motorcycles, endurance riding, or setting records. What this is about is veterans. Every day, veterans struggle with isolation, depression, PTSD, loss of purpose, and the feeling that nobody understands what they're carrying.
Exactly.
Too many reach a point where they believe there are no good options left. And the mission for this ride, the message is simple. Don't make a permanent decision on a temporary day. Give yourself one more day. Look, along the route, I'm going to be sharing stories, meeting people, talking with veterans, and documenting a journey through short videos and updates. Every fuel stop, every state line, and every mile represents the idea that sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't charging forward, but it's choosing to stay in the fight for another day. The goal isn't fundraising. The goal is awareness, connection, and conversation. If one veteran hears this message, reaches out to a friend, asks for help, or decides to keep going for one more day, every mile will have been worth it. So when you see updates from the road this summer, remember the mission. 6,400 miles, one rider, one nation, one more day. Because sometimes tomorrow is the day that everything changes, and all you have to do is make it there.
That's it. And we're going to be riding along with you with the final boss, man. We're going to be right there with you in spirit, of course. But look, man, this is going to be a great cause. It's going to be a great journey for the veterans, for the veteran community, man, and all the people that you're going to come across, man. This is going to be amazing. I am super excited, and I can't wait to see it in action, man. This is going to be amazing. And to all the veterans out there, man, we're here with you guys, right? Suicide prevention is real, and we're going to be right there with you along the way. Sensei, thank you so much.
I'm going to be doing a chicken dance with my lovely wife.
Okay.
We got to do the chicken dance because that's on the agenda.
Dance.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
25 years married. We're doing the dance. That's right.
All right. You heard it first here on the Final Boss podcast, man. Tech Tuesdays. Listen, more updates to come. We're going to be filling you guys in before the journey starts. And yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, right? That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being patient with us, right? During the construction, season 4, the rebirth, right? Episode 262. And that's a wrap for this episode, right? We see you again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. live right here, right? And I'll see you tomorrow for Merger Wednesdays live at 9 p.m., right? And that's our show for tonight. And as always, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Don't gatekeep. Share with at least 3 people. And always remember, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but there's an even heavier pain that comes with regret. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That is our show. I am here. We are here. Be balanced, be equal, and most importantly, be smart, man. Be smart. That's our show. Man, what a night. What a show. Let's go.
Welcome to Tech Tuesday on the Final Boss podcast, where innovation meets attitude, and the future gets decoded one bite at a time. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO, and your co-host, Mike Foth. And today we're diving deep into the tech trenches to uncover the tools, trends, and truths shaping tomorrow. Whether you're a code slinger, gadget geek, or just tech curious, this is your weekly power-up. So grab your controller, plug in, and let's level up.